of the Bail Amendment Bill. I want to first answer some of the claims that the court system is somehow the efficiencies that have been identified both, or the lack of efficiencies that have been identified both by Minister Judith Collins and some members of the oppositions aren't being addressed by this government. In fact, in the 5 years of the National-led government, there's been an aggressive program in this area of refining and making efficiencies in our court and judicial system. And the first one I want to talk about is the Criminal Procedure Act, which came into effect in July this year. It does relate to the Bail Amendment Act, Mr Speaker, because the gamut of this Act falls within the judicial framework. And so the Criminal Procedure Act, which has only just come into effect, is already having an impact on reducing the backlog of cases that are waiting to be brought to trial. And of course, you have to acknowledge that it is not just the criminal system which causes some delays. There are always occasions where defendants or people accused of a crime need to take counsel from their lawyers. So there are many reasons, but this government is aggressively addressing the issues of the justice delayed. The Judicature Amendment Bill, which is before the House, is also a very comprehensive piece of work brought to the House by Honourable Judith Collins, designed to speed up court processes. It will allow for more powers to be able to manage judicial resources, and so there will be efficiencies within the judicial system, allow for better administrative efficiencies. And knowing my local courts and having visited a few courts, it is a system which up until very recently has been paper-based and is still making the transition through to using audio-visual links. Honourable Chester Borrows is leading that work in our court system already. That is having a beneficial impact on court waiting times and access to justice. And so, talking about the bail system is about deciding what is going to happen to a defendant when charged with an offence while their case goes through the criminal justice system. And if a decision on bail is required, the basic decision that the court has to make is whether the defendant should be imprisoned or should be allowed to be returned to the community with some conditions. The Bail Amendment Bill, contrary to what the opposition might want you to think, makes some significant refinements for the better around those decisions about whether to award bail and under what conditions. The main provision in the Bail Amendment Bill is around the reversing the burden of proof. So, those charged with serious Class A drug offences, such as the manufacture of P, will now be, on the enactment of this bill, required to convince the judge why they should be allowed on bail. Similarly, for people who are charged with murder, and the current list of specified offences, which has not been reviewed for some time since the Bail Act was enacted, has also been reviewed. And so the bill expands the list of violent and sexual offences that result in a defendant being subject to reverse burden of proof. It will be harder for those people accused of a serious offence to get bail in New Zealand. Mr Speaker, I want to pay tribute to Tracy Marceau and the 84,000 others who signed the Christie's Law petition. I want to pay tribute, first of all, to them as a family who have lost their beloved daughter in the most awful of circumstances. I want to commend them for having the courage to bring the Christie's Law petition to this House. The decision was made in the Law and Order Committee that we would not consider the Christie's Law petition at the same time as the Bail Amendment Bill. That was done for very good reason. The reason we decided not to consider those two items together is that we needed to give the petition and the petitioners and the parents of Christy Marceau and the other people who have been allegedly or charged or been found the victims of murder the due consideration of the matters they have brought to us. We considered that some of the items brought to us in the petition were out of scope with the provisions of the Bail Amendment Bill, and we would not have been able to do justice to the petition had we put them together. I want to assure the petitioners on behalf of Christy Marceau and the other victims of serious crime and murder that the Law and Order Committee is giving very serious consideration to their petition, and we will be reporting to the House when we have considered our deliberations. Mr. Speaker, the Bail Amendment Bill goes a long way to protecting New Zealanders. The Bail Amendment Bill goes a long way in National's program of making New Zealand safer for New Zealanders, and I commend the bill to the House.
Andrew Little.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I rise to